Okay, so today I wanted to show you how to make a dark ambient patch on the Vital Synth, and this is what we're going to look at. Okay, so the first thing I did on the oscillator 1 is to drop the level down to 0. Why? Because I attached a LFO2 with this shape to control the level so that every time the LFO is triggered, it'll open the volume and it won't sound through the whole patch. So let's see how that sounds. By itself, it sounds actually quite good. And at the same time, the LFO is just bringing the volume up of oscillator 1. Let's bring down the volume. And here, as you can see, random 1 with a sine interpolate mode, our 4/1 tempo is modulating the tempo of LFO2, sorry. So it's going from probably 130 seconds to much longer time. I also added unison, and I'm controlling the unison with random 1 just to make it sound like it's opening and then closing in the spectrum of the stereo. And also I reduced the unison level to 56% so that it's not as wide. Then I added a smear here, and I'm modulating the smear with LFO1, which for this one actually I did a completely different LFO shape, which is this kind of shape here. So the LFO is opening almost all the way through the smear knob in these instances, but not so much here, and that's why you get the opening sound and opening and closing sound like this. So it gives it a more rhythmical sound. Also, the LFO is controlling many different things. So for example, it's also controlling the frequency morph amount for oscillator 2, but we're going to see that later. It's controlling the smear, and it's also controlling an effect here. It's controlling the distortion drive. So that every time it opens up, it gives it more drive, it gives it more distortion. It's also modulating filter 2, and when you get to filter 2, this is where the sound really, becomes alive. I'm gonna cycle this so that it repeats. And let's open actually filter 2. Well, actually filter 1. So let's open now oscillator 2. That's where we get this kind of sound. And that oscillator 2 is going to filter 2, which is a formant filter. And actually is being modulated by LFO2 with this upside down triangle shape. And it's moving. So what I like about the formant filter is that it gives it that resonant sound. And a little bit of the higher frequencies are being controlled by filter 1 and modulated by random 2 as well. So, and I also added 10 units of unison, and the unison spectrum or wide or whatever it's called, it's been modulated by random 2, so it's opening and closing, and that gives it a depth in the spectrum of sound. Also, I added a random amplitude knob here, So it is giving me different amplitudes of the wavetable here. This is one of the wavetables I created. And same thing here, LFO2 is controlling the level, and also random 1 is controlling the pan, and random 2 is controlling the pan for oscillator 1. Now let's jump to oscillator 3. And this is also a wavetable that I created. It's giving it more like that murky. That's why I called it murky. You know, it's creating that murky sound, more like a creature is lurking, you know, behind you. And it's also the LFO3 is controlling the levels, and I created this shape just to control the level of the LFO3. Also, the pitch is -24, so that's 2 octaves down. And also I'm adding a smear wave morpher here, and it's been randomized by random 2 every 4th quarter note. Also add a little bit of unison to make it wider. As you can see, all the levels of the unison are different, so that not everything is in the same space. Also I added a formant here just to bring some, I think it's harmonics, what it brings, and it's being modulated with LFO1. And that is sent to filter 2, which is bringing that resonance from the formant filter. So this is very important to bring movement to the sound, to modulate this position of the formant filter. Also, I'm adjusting the spread with random 1. And now let's jump to the effects. So I'm going to open all the oscillators. Okay, so the first effect that I added here is a chorus. The chorus just gives it more of a wider, you know, vibe to it. The mix is actually quite high, and I can reduce the cutoff here a little bit more so that the low frequencies are not being affected by the chorus. And the feedback is almost at, let's say, 44% right there, and the tempo is 8/1. And right after that, I added a equalizer just to get rid of the low end. Cannot really hear it, but I can hear it with my headphones. And since this has a lot of sounds, it actually created a lot of high frequencies, so I just deleted them or got rid of them with an equalizer. And then I went on to do a distortion, add a distortion unit, a soft clip. And yes, I said before, the drive is being modulated by LFO1, and actually the mix is all the way up, but I can bring it down, and I can actually modulate it with, let's say, random 2. Not all the way down, but just here. Cutoff is being modulated by LFO3, so that the high frequencies are the ones that are being distorted. Also, low frequencies, but much less. The resonance is also being modulated with LFO3, so that it has that resonant vibe to it. I added a delay so that the whooshes are being delayed. And one of the things I learned from Science of Live is to put the ping pong mode delay and have a very short delay and a very long delay. So I'm adding 1 bar over 1 bar delay, delay, and then an eighth delay with the feedback pretty much open. Then I added a filter, because if you don't add a filter, this is what happens. There's just too many high frequencies going on. I can control that. So I added a random 2 to the filter, and then LFO 3 to modulate how much it's opening. So these two are modulating the filter, just to get more randomness into the opening of the filter. I also added a reverb, and I reduced the low frequencies here, so that the reverb is not affecting the low frequencies, and just a little bit of the highs. And the mix is at 38%. The size is pretty big, it's almost 60%, and the time is 2 seconds. So that's the time that it takes for it to decay. And lastly, a compressor, just to make the sound bigger. If I take out the compressor, the sound is almost not there. But if I add it, I immediately get more of everything. I put it at the end because, I don't know, it just makes more sense. I don't like it in the beginning. Sometimes I like it in the beginning, but at the start of the chain. But maybe for this one worked better. I always try to put a long attack so I don't lose those, those transients, those whooshes, and then release, because I don't want a lot of it to be compressed over time. I just want the sound to be bigger. That's pretty much it. I think for advanced, I didn't do anything. You can always change the table spread if you want. And yeah, also one thing that I wanted to show you is that I have a channel strip dedicated for drones, and it's called Atmospheric FX for Drones, and it's just a solid bus compressor from Native Instruments with a mix glue, just to bring more volume to it. And I also added a RC20 and ROM from Native Instruments. If you want to add more reverb to it, this is how it sounds. It washes it in reverb, decays very long. You can use the mix knob to mix the wet and dry signals. I reduced the highs here a lot because I don't want to get the very harsh highs inside the reverb, and the lows, I don't want to rumble. And yeah, I also have RC20 on this channel strip in the limiter, but I didn't use them for this one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright guys, thank you for watching.